All right, gentlemen, we've been over the rules. Protect yourself at all times. Follow my instructions. We're going to have a clean fight. Touch gloves. Let's do it.
Let's go!
Khamzat Chimaev will confidently demolish the entire welterweight and middleweight division. He has practically no rivals. No one wants to enter the octagon with him, and recently Prohazka said that he wants to fight against Chimaev in the light heavyweight division. How do you like such a fight? I think it will be spectacular. Hello everyone, Fighters with You MMA's channel. In this video, I will give a prediction for the fight Khamzat Chimaev versus Jiri Prohazka. But before starting this video, do not forget to subscribe to the channel and like so that as many fans as possible can see this video. After Jon Jones left the division, he could be said to have lost his grip. After Jones' departure, more than one champion was replaced, and also, without properly defending the belt, they lost it. First, the belt was seized by the Brazilian Glover Teixeira, who lost to Jiri Prohazka in the next fight. The Czech signed a contract for the first defense against the same Glover, but alas, a serious injury forced him to give up the belt, and other contenders fought for it. Magomed Ankalaev and Jan Balakovic shared the octagon to understand who is the true champion. But the fight ended in a draw, and the belt remained vacant. The light heavyweight division is crumbling right before our eyes. The next in line was Jamal Hill. He was offered a fight for the vacant title, and his opponent was the former owner of this belt, the notorious Glover Teixeira. In the fight, the American was able to get the belt, and as a result, for this period of time, the champion is Brazilian Alex Pereira. Now Khamzat Chimaev is the most popular fighter in the UFC. Each of his fights is awaited by many fans around the world. Recently, he was supposed to meet with Nate Diaz at the legendary numbered tournament, but due to the fact that Chimaev could not make a weight, the card was radically changed. And as a result, Khamzat had a fight of a higher category against the chattering Kevin Holland. You all saw for yourself Chimaev did not leave a single chance to strangle the American in the first round. Before that, he also dominated each of his opponents. The only one who could compete with him was Gilbert Burns. The rest of Khamzat's rivals were brightly finished in the first round, maximum in the second. And now both fighters can fight for the right to claim the light heavyweight title. Let's analyze this fight as soon as possible. Percussion style. Let's start with Khamzat. As you all know very well, Chimaev preaches wrestling, and in the UFC he used the rack very rarely. That's where Khamzat's skills were clearly visible, so it was in the duel against Burns. With the Brazilian they fought to glory. Chimaev in that fight showed that he has a decent stance. He holds the blow well, plus he himself does not hit badly. Khamzat is a wrestler, and almost all wrestlers have a good punch. An example is not worth looking for a long time: Khabib versus Conor. The second round, a hard right overhand hit exactly on the jaw of the Irishman, and he was knocked down for the first time in his career. Chimaev has the same style. He has many fights where he was able to knock out his opponent. Gerard Meerschaert felt all the Chechen strength of the Greyhound, and Aliskerov was also unlucky. He was also able to feel the strong punch bores. In the duel against Prohazka, the striking power can help him. Since the Czech has problems with the holder, he has been knocked down more than once. Alex Pereira, Dominic Reyes were able to lower him to the 5th point, and given the strength of the Greyhound, he is also quite capable of catching Jiri and dropping him. Now let's move on to the striking technique of Jiri Prohazka, and before his injury he showed a masterful performance in the style of Tony Ferguson, and as long as he is young, this style will work. Due to his speed, he outplays his counterparts, leaving them no chance to win. He also has a difference from El Kukai. Tony never actually knocked out his opponents. There were cases, but it was rare, and Jiri, in turn, demonstrated that if he hits well, then the opponent falls breathlessly on the canvas. I think everyone watched the fight between Prohazka and Reyes. In that fight, the Czech showed all his nature. Such a beating has not been seen since the peak of Tony Ferguson. Elbows, hard blows to the face. This was a truly legendary fight. It is also worth mentioning his last fight against Hill, in which he also showed all the beauty of his fighting technique, and that in the end we can say, due to the relevance and freshness, I will believe in Chimaev more. Jiri comes out after an injury, and a serious one, and who knows how it will affect him. Playing from the bottom. Now let's move on to Jiri Prohazka's wrestling game, where we will also have something to talk about. Before the title fight against Glover, Jiri did not really show his skill on the canvas, only striking technique and, in extreme cases, finishing off on the ground. For the fans, there was a big question whether he would be able to resist the Brazilian's fight. And as we understood he could, yes, there were episodes in which Teixeira took dangerous positions, but the fight can be said to have taken place on a collision course. Then Prohazka will shake Glover with one of the punches, then he will hit well. The same topic was with wrestling. I didn't find any other examples in which Jiri showed his wrestling path. He got into the UFC as a fighter with a name and regalia behind his back, and therefore he was led along a separate, simpler path. So now let's move on to Khamzat Chimaev's wrestling skills, and everything there is also at a high level. From early childhood, he performed and won major competitions. Also, he rebuilt his freestyle wrestling skills in MMA. Thereby, he dominates every fighter with whom he is put together as soon as he got into the UFC. He had no equal in wrestling, transfer and tough ground and pound. This is how his fights ended until he met with representatives of the top 5 Gilbert Burns. That evening, after the first round, Chimaev realized that it was dangerous to work in wrestling and therefore switched to standing. But in the very next battle, he again got a one-sided striker, whom he easily transferred and destroyed. While it's too early to talk about wrestling skills, he should test his wrestling style with a good wrestler. Opponents like Kamaru Usman or Colby Covington are ideal. The favorite in this fight due to his experience will be Khamzat. He fought and fought with better wrestlers than Jiri. Cardio and spirit. What can be said about cardio? Khamzat only once passed the 3-round distance, and then he did not show himself in the best way. At the end of the third, in the duel with Burns, he somehow held his hands, and the fight with Prohazka will 100% take place in the main event of the numbered tournament. And, of course, the rules of the fight will be 5 versus 5. I don't know what the Greyhound needs to do to reach the end of the 5th round, and at the same time he feels comfortable. In such a short time, he will hardly be able to change anything, only if he joins the camp of Nurmagomedov. As for Jiri's stamina, here I can give him a huge plus, since in his last fight he went through a 5-round war, where I can't say that he looked lost or tired. Many people spoke badly about his cardio before the fight with the Brazilian, but now there are no problems with this. In my opinion, Prohazka will be the favorite, and both guys have a tough spirit, so I will put a draw. Forecast. My prediction will be that Khamzat Chimaev will try to move Jiri to the canvas, but he is unlikely to succeed due to the difference in size, so Prohazka will take the victory by the decision of the judges.